Welcome, Chris Maynard. I think this might be your first show that you've had up here in the San Juan Islands. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Welcome to the museum.
Yeah,
So I'd like to have from you an overview of how you started.
I can trace it back to my grandfather taking me to the Woodland Park Zoo when I was 12. And at that time they could go in the cages. You know, he let me in the cages and I got to pick up flamingo feathers. And
oh my.
you can't do that anymore, right. But I still have those feathers.
Oh.
That was a fascination of mine for forever, because feathers, they're so beautiful and complex, and they're also gifts from the bird that retain their structure. Mm-hmm. And started first arranging them in different ways, but I couldn't have a lot of meaning. I couldn't tell a story very well. Then one day I saw an Argus pheasant feather, which is one of the feathers that I have here. They have little dots on them, but some of the dots were kind of in the shape of little birds, it seemed to me. Oh. And I go, what if those just start flying out of the feather? Yeah. Then I started to figure out how to make the feathers stable so that I could carve them. And so what you see are the feathers. It's a little bit of deception, like a lot of art. You see the feathers, but behind them, they're backed with a process that I developed with special glues, paper, and pressure. Mm-hmm. I studied entomology, so I have all these little entomology pins that come in different sizes. Mm-hmm. And that's what I use to back them and pull them away from the paper, which gives a different dimension, gives shadows. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to respect the shapes of the feathers. I didn't want to paste them against the background.
Right, so there's that sense of depth there.
There's a sense of depth, and by honoring the feathers and their shapes, they've given me this added dimension.
How are you cutting these so precisely? You use a laser, or you use an X-Acto? An X-Acto blade? How are you doing this?
Good question. I tried laser. I mean, I was just for fun, as I was already doing it in a different way, and they smell like burning flesh, burning hair, and it also leaves a burn mark. Oh. But my father was an eye surgeon, and I use his surgical tools, or at least I did until I broke them all. I use surgical tools. Mm-hmm. Yeah. An X-Acto knife would kind of rip the structure of the feather, so they're curved, they're tiny, tiny little scalpels.
Oh my goodness. That's very particular and very, very intense. Okay, another question I had just right off the top of my head, bear with me. So let's look at this piece right here. And how long did it take you to do that piece?
So when people ask that question, a lot of times it's how long did it take you to cut it? Well, but there's a whole process to it.
I bet there is.
There's finding the feathers in the first place. Right. And these feathers are not easy to find, especially in good shape.
Okay.
So getting the feathers, or getting the idea, and then drawing it out like you would any art. Uh-huh. And then backing the feathers. And then taking a picture of the feather and taking my drawing, putting it on the computer, sizing them to the feathers, and then modifying it, just tweaking it to fit the feather, and then I have a template I can cut.
Let's look at the wall here, and you said that you had done this wall before, a couple of times before, and so you said that you liked this display better. Can you explain that just a little bit to us?
Okay, this was been in Seattle and Los Angeles, and the walls were just bigger. I mean, there was more space, and they weren't quite as condensed, and they flew around the room more, and it was nice, but I don't know, I just like how more condensed this is.
Again, you have cut out these images, and you're attaching them to the wall, so it's rather remarkable that you have this patience to do this. I mean, it just, that was the first word that came to my mind was, this man has a lot of patience. yeah, because of this intricacy that you're dealing with here.
Well, patience is maybe a function of maybe not wanting to do something, but if I'm really into it, it's a meditation. It's not patience for me. It's just, it's very focused and present, and I'm off in my world.
On this wall here is, you've worked with feathers and you've made them into a skeletal process. Is that right? Or image. Can you speak to those a little bit?
These three are the only ones that aren't for sale because we're planning on a museum tour for these and other skeletal ones. And I was inspired by this book I read called The Unfeathered Bird. It's an incredible, beautiful book. I might be out of print now, but it's 10 years ago. Katrina van Groo wrote it, and she worked with the British Museum to rearrange birds into their skeletons into shapes like they're preening or flying. So I was fascinated by it, and so I contacted her, and we're working together on having a joint show that would go around the United States to natural history museums also. I'm interested in what's underneath a lot, like symbology and meaning, and also what makes birds work. Their skeletons are unique to them. They're very light because birds have to fly, and they have these big breastplates so the bird can fly. If we tried to do that with that kind of wing, our chest would just collapse.
What bird, a species of bird, are you most enamored by?
Well, for the patterns in the bird's feathers, it would be the great Argus pheasant. Yeah, it's a peacock-sized bird, and it's these mini-eyed feathers and all sorts of other ones too. And peacock feathers are beautiful too.
Yeah.
People ask me where I get these feathers. I can't have feathers from North America generally, unless they're birds that are hunted, like turkeys. They're all illegal to have. It's from the Migratory Bird Act 100 years ago, when people were killing all the birds for women's hats.
Yeah.
So my birds are from private aviaries and zoos.
And how do you connect with these zoos and things? You just write them a letter and say, I want to come over and get your feathers, or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, okay.
Pretty much. I have connections, and people know me, and people are glad to send me feathers. Some feathers I buy, like these great Argus pheasants, these big secondary feathers. And I knew a man who raised about 7 pairs of them in Alabama. I'd call him up every year, and he'd go, "Hi, I was Elton Housley." I could hardly understand him, but we became pretty good friends. And over 20 years, he sent me all the sheds of his feathers, and I would cut him a check every year. So I'd buy those.
So I'm looking at this piece here with the grid. Can you, that one there. Can you explain a little bit why it's obviously a little different than the rest here. So can you explain a little bit about that piece?
That's an interesting tie-in to talking about zoos and aviaries, because these birds are caged. And zoos are kind of cool, but they're also kind of sad. But I rely on that for my shed feathers. And a lot of people keep macaws and parrot. This is like a macaw parrot.
Yeah.
So they're caged, and that one's called Rattle the Cage. It's like, yeah.
I'm wondering what you would like the visitors to the museum. What would you like them to take away from your show?
I show feathers in ways that people haven't seen before. And I'd like them to take away seeing feathers in new ways, and therefore birds too, and going out and maybe having a little more sparkle.
What about the craftsmanship?
I don't know, that's just what I do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I get ideas from lots of sources and write them down in my notebook, my sketchbook, and end up doing a few of them here. But I like to convey little stories of like, there's some here that are like life cycles. What the birds eat becomes what they are, just like us. More connection with birds, and maybe a little more connection with ourselves too.
Well, Chris Maynard, thank you so much for bringing your work here, and thank you for being here and taking part in this interview. I know that our viewers really, they really appreciate hearing from the artist, and I think at our website we give them more information, and also your website will be able to display that. So thank you.
Good, thank you.